at least two Republican congressmen are facing calls to resign after being caught enriching themselves off the current crisis. So now, first was Republican Senator Richard Burr. So now, a couple of days ago, uh, news came out that he had sold off some stock ahead of a stock market crash. Now, the GOP congressman, according to the Daily Beast, sold off a significant percentage of his stocks, unloading between 628,000 and 1.72 million of his holdings on February 13th in 33 separate transactions. So, I mean, wow, around $1.72 million. So now the problem is that he is the head of the Intelligence Committee and has access to the government's most highly classified information about threats to American security. This is information that we do not have access to as the general public. And more importantly, or at least when it comes to this story, normal traders on Wall Street do not have access to this kind of information. Information that would appear to put Mr. Burr at an advantage. If you have information that you know is going to have a gigantic impact on the markets, as we have seen, and you use that information to help yourself because you have stocks, well, that is a crime. That is called insider trading. That is illegal, right? So now his committee, by the way, was directly involved because they were given daily COVID-19 briefings around the same time that Burr was selling his stock. So he gets the briefings, classified. Well, I don't know if they were classified briefings, to be honest, but they were briefings that other people were not getting at this point. So they might as well be classified. And he takes this information instead of warning the American people, or trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to help the American people? No, he helps himself first. Oh, great. Now, by the way, a week after Burr's sales, the stock market began its sharp decline and has lost about 30% since. So we are beyond a bear market. We are heading towards recession. Now, and instead of doing anything about it, no, he protected his own assets. Now, what makes it worse is that Burr was quoted in a secret recording captured by NPR. Now, this was in February 20. It was in the end of February 27th, in which he told donors that he was foreseeing a very serious situation that had huge financial repercussions. So now, that's what he's telling his donors in private. Hey, man, look, this thing is it's very virulent. It's going to spread very fast, and so I think that's going to have a huge impact on the markets. People are going to have to stay home, and telework and all that, and so that's going to have a huge effect on the consumer-based economy. That's what he told his donors. He was telling the public though that no, nothing to worry about. We got this. In fact, in a February 7th op-ed that he co-authored with another senator, he assured the public that the United States today is better prepared than ever before to face emerging public health threats. We are better prepared than ever before. Let me tell you how prepared we are. Look around. Does it look like we're prepared? I mean, we have hospitals that don't have enough ventilators. We don't have testing kits. Where are the testing kits? I mean, we don't have it. We have a healthcare system that's woefully inadequate at the best of times to cover the millions and millions of people who don't have health insurance or can't afford to use their health insurance. Now we're in a global crisis, and it just kind of lays bare all the problems in our system, not only in our healthcare system, but our economic system as well, where these corporations are over leveraged already and were over leveraged before because they were given giant tax cuts and used those tax cuts to boost their stock. And then because you had such cheap loans available, were able to go and borrow those loans at very low interest rates and become over leveraged. Well, now these companies and these corporations are getting massive bailouts thanks to the taxpayer and thanks to the Federal Reserve, who's just conjuring up money from thin air and throwing it to the banks. We have all these problems. And yet these congressmen, and there's more than just one, it's just Richard Burr, are like, let's protect our bottom line first. Yay. So that's what we have. Now, again, I mentioned that he's not the first person to dump stock. No, there's another one. There were sales by Dianne Feinstein, she's a Democrat from California. So she also dumped stock prior to the economic downturn. So now analysts are saying, well, that not quite connected to directly with COVID-19. So, but still, maybe we should look into that. That's what the analysts are saying. You also had Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, also dumped his stock. And there's another one actually. That's James Inhofe, also dumped stock. So, but there's even more. There's GOP Congresswoman Senator Kelly Loeffler. Now, the Daily Beast reported that Loeffler had sold off millions of dollars worth of stock holdings following a private January 24th Senate Health Committee meeting on COVID-19. So that was even further before. I mean, Burr sold it at the end of February. In January, Loeffler's like, dump it now. Well, of course, okay, that says two things, right? She had incredible foresight, for one, because she had the information and made a decision and was like, okay, we got to get out of this. Now, she, of course, denies all this. Oh, no, I don't make those decisions at all. Sure, Jan. Sure. But also that the government knew about this for quite some time, knew it was a problem. And this is all while Donald Trump was out there calling it fake news and a Democrat hoax. So keep that in mind. Not only that, but Fox News was also calling it a Democrat hoax. So, now, what's interesting about Loeffler's case is her connections, right? So not only is she a congresswoman and she's getting these private briefings, but her husband, Jeffrey Sprecher, is also the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange. Kind of a small, tiny, itsy-bitty little, not so important position when it comes to, stocks and finance, right? Wouldn't you agree? No, look, Sprecher sold stock on January 24th, the same day that his wife sat in the briefing from two members of Donald Trump's COVID-19 task force. But it's got nothing to do with that, right? No, of course not. No, nothing to do. Oh, you guys are crazy. No, they don't make any of their own stock decisions. The guy who heads up the New York Stock Exchange. Now, this isn't the only thing. Now, the couple sold stock between that day and February 14th, worth a total of $1.2 million and $3.1 million. That's a lot of money. That's not an insignificant amount. Just pointing that out. Now, in addition to the sales, if that's not enough evidence to show that there is some serious insider trading going on, they also purchased stock in a maker of software that helps people work from home. And that just happened just before millions of Americans were advised to work from home. Gee, what a lucky break. What a great coincidence. Except that it's not. It's neither of those things. Now, Loeffler, according to the Daily Beast, reported the first sale of stock jointly owned by her and her husband on January 24th. The very day that her committee, the Senate Health Committee, hosted a private all senators briefing from administration officials, including CDC Director Anthony Fauci, I'm sorry, NIH Director Anthony Fauci, the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So Burr, much like Loeffler, had also voiced optimism about the strength of the economy and the Trump administration's response to the crisis, even as she was privately bailing stock. Awesome. Great. Look, this is obvious and deep corruption. Burr, by the way, getting back to him for a second, and this is how deep the corruption in Congress goes. Burr was one of the senators that opposed a 2012 bill that barred lawmakers and their staff from using non-public information for trades and required regular disclosure of those trades. That is known as the Stock Act. Richard Burr says, no, I'm not interested in the Stock Act because I want to use my information, my advantage over you plebs, in order to make money. And if the stock market goes down, I'm going to save money. Well, of course he'd be against that. Now, Loeffler, of course, she wasn't in Congress. She's very new to Congress, actually. But she had served in private industry prior to this. And again, her husband literally runs the New York Stock Exchange. So, yeah. It's gross. It's obvious corruption. And it's not legal. It is illegal. You can't do that. It's insider trading 101. And really kind of illustrates who these people are. Again, instead of properly warning the American public and actually being real about the economic and health dangers of this entire thing, they instead chose to look out for themselves and their own pocketbook. I mean, it's clear greed. It's sort of the financial, Wall Street equivalent of buying out all the toilet paper and then reselling it at a higher price. I mean, that's what they're doing. Screw you, I got mine. These senators should resign immediately. Richard Burr, gone. Kelly Loeffler, gone. Now, Kelly is still defending herself on social media saying, oh, no, it's not illegal. What I did, I didn't actually do it. I was not in control of any of my accounts. That's ridiculous. Again, I don't believe this at all. All right. And so, no, she's apparently going to fight it and probably go down with the ship, which she deserves it. She deserves to be in prison. Now, progressives echoed that sentiment, by the way. Ilhan Omar said this: there need to be 2 open Senate seats by the morning. No excuses. I agree. AOC said it is stomach turning that the first thoughts that these senators had to a dire and classified COVID briefing was to how to profit off this crisis. They didn't mobilize to help families or prep response. They dumped stock. Senator Loeffler needs to resign too. Cox Radio correspondent Jamie Dupree also talked about Jim Inhofe and said, I'm sorry, Eric Fernandez said in response to that, quote, an endless, bottomless pit of corruption. I mean, this situation, all the masks are dropping at this point. The weaknesses of the healthcare system, the selfishness of some of our citizens who are stocking up on toilet paper and Purell, denying other people, right? The fact that our elites don't really care about the average person and will do as little to help them while protecting their precious corporations and bailouts. Who knew that in this time, we would find out what the real sickness is? Greed. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.